We can understand if you associate Indianapolis with the big race over at the Speedway, but I guarantee you, fans, you're going to see some great action tonight in Indy on two wheels. Hello, Supercross fans, and welcome to Indiana. I'm Dave Despain with our ESPN Supercross analyst, Larry Myers. And back home in Indiana has a double meaning tonight for a kid named Mike LaRocco. I'm tired of hearing about Jeremy McGrath, Mike Kudrowski, Damon Bradshaw, Jeff Stanton. Let's talk about somebody different. LaRocco's back.
It's my opinion that had LaRocco not left, that he would have been added to that bunch of names. He won the season opener in Orlando, Florida. We went on to Houston, we went on to Anaheim, and LaRocco forgot how to get a hole shot. He started at the back of the pack, but wow, did he cut through the traffic. He was absolutely fantastic. His riding abilities were really highlighted, and I think he could have been the guy, had he not been injured, that would have made a difference in this series, because he wanted it awfully bad. He was so serious about winning the championship and winning races, and he was just going so fast. So I'm really happy to have LaRocco back.
The injury is behind him. He makes his return in front of the home fans. And standing by with the Hoosier Supercross star is our Art Ekman.
Dave, we're with Mike alongside the Kawasaki pits right now. And Mike, we saw you practice at Pontiac. It was a good, hard practice, but your wrist still hurt. Might you be rushing it a bit, trying to race in front of your hometown fans?
I'd like to think that I'm not. The doctor said, go have at it. So, that's what I'm here to do. I'm going to go out there and give it a shot.
We know you're going to be riding with that brace on. We saw earlier in the season, but even when you got injured in practice, that brace hit with such impact, it went flying.
Yeah, unfortunately, when I did break my wrist, the brace didn't do me any good. But it does help me with the strength of my wrist. It gives me a lot more support, so I'm going to continue to wear it.
So really, when you land and jam it, that's when it hurts.
Yeah, a few laps of that, more and more of it, it's when it gets sore. But it's coming along real good, so, I'll be ready to go.
Everyone knew you had the fastest bike. In fact, they were starting to say, hey, this guy's a legitimate title contender. I'm sure you felt that way.
Yeah, I did. I felt real good. Me and the bike were working real well, and, I had some good races. And I'd like to think that, starting up again, I can do the same thing.
But your teammates didn't let off. Mike Kudrowski, Michael Craig?
Yeah, they're riding good. Mike Kudrowski ended up with a few wins now, and Mike Craig's been coming along real good lately. It's been tough sitting out watching, so, I'm ready to get back at it.
Well, with your teammate Michael Craig is our good friend Bob Hanna, and I don't think there's anyone, Bob, that wants to win more than Michael Craig. He's a high-strung, emotional young man. To you, Bob.
That's right, Art. Michael Craig's been riding faster and faster every week. In fact, Mike, last week, first night of Pontiac Silverdome, you had a big lead. You had the confidence. You were riding smooth. It looked to me like you had the race in the bag. What happened?
Yeah, I went out there and I felt really good in practice, so I knew I could do good in the main. Started off about 5th or 6th and kind of worked by those guys pretty fast in the race, and I knew there was a long time to go. And as I guess I was pulling away pretty fast, and didn't really realize how far I was pulling away. I think I should have backed it off a little bit. And I was doing a set of jumps out there that me and Cooper were doing. Nobody else was doing it, and I did it once too many times, and went over the handlebars pretty hard. And after that, I got up and did it again, and just told myself, go back to the pits before you hurt yourself, and just go back to the hotel and find out what you did wrong all night. So I told myself there's still one more night left.
You said in the past you might not have been totally focused. Is your focus now the key to success?
Oh, definitely. Back in '89, Keith McCarty gave me a chance on the Yamaha team to prove myself, and I didn't, go after. I kind of just went like I normally did, just go out there and race every weekend, normally out of shape, and end up crashing and getting hurt. And now, Roy Turner gave me the chance, and I'm going to go after and fulfill all my goals and do the best I can do.
There's 4 more races, Mike. Do you think you're going to win one or maybe even 2 before the end of the season?
I'd love to win a race. Hopefully I can win it here, and then I have 3 more chances to win another one, so find out.
Well, it sounds like he's loaded with confidence, and I'm sure that he's going to win one or at least give it his best shot. Back to you, Dave.
You bet, Hannah. And 19 other guys have got exactly the same thing in mind. We'll be right back in the Hoosier Dome. Might this be the former Vice President of the United States, Dan Quayle, native Hoosier, arriving here in the Hoosier Dome for the Supercross race, Larry?
It would appear to be that important. At least, look, he's got himself locked in there.
Unlock the door.
Who's going to pop out? It's Mike LaRocco, his return to Supercross, and it's a return in style.
What a nice treatment here for the Hoosier native who returns to action tonight after the wrist injury. Mike LaRocco and the rest of these superstars will be challenging a very, very tricky course here. And earlier today, we had the opportunity to saddle up the Isuzu bike cam and take a lap of the dome.
Yeah, the camera is on the motorcycle or helmet of Denny Stevenson. He'll be rider number 23. You'll see a shot of him in just a second. And the other rider on the track to give us some perspective as to what it looks like when you're coming up behind that guy to make the pass, or he's passing you. Rider number 12 on the left of the screen is Jeff Matasevich. Two good friends and two very, very competent riders out there kind of ringing it out for the Isuzu bike cam and the fans here at the Hoosier Dome. Now you get some kind of idea. Man, you just kind of float through the air, don't you, on that long triple jump and squaring the corner off. That left hand, he just took her right up to the edge of the bales, and I think what you do is you lean her over a little bit and just wrap the throttle, and the back end whips around, and then you gas it and on down that straightaway. So Matasevich making it look easy, and Stevenson keeping up with the weight of that camera on the back. And I think Jeff may be slowing up there just a little bit as they hit this series of jumps in the center of the racetrack. But that is not the trickiest part here in the Hoosier Dome. Now, Bob Hurricane Hanna, one of our pit reporters, is standing by. He'll tell us about that.
Every Supercross track has its special problems for the riders. This track here in the Hoosier Dome has a very strange start in the fact that it funnels down very hard here on the left-hand side. That does create a big problem for riders 19 through 22. Now, that's not only going to cause a problem for them, but in the first corner, they've got to go somewhere. They've got to move over to the right, and it's going to start a domino effect all the way down the line. This first corner is going to be a good place to watch here tonight. Back to you, Dave.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. If Hannah says that's the place to watch, I'm going to watch it. Starting gate action, first qualifying heat about to go to the gate. Let's take a look at how they set the format here for Supercross. The top 4 riders from each of the 2 10-lappers will go directly to the main event. Those not qualifying go to the semis. Top 5 finishers from each semi get to the main. Top 2 from the last chance qualifiers give us 20 riders in the feature going for the big bucks and the championship points. And at this point, the points all belong to Jeremy McGrath. We'll see him in the second heat race here tonight. Field's coming set, and I think that whole shot's going to be critical given what Hannah told us about the start.
Yeah, the riders on the extreme left-hand side are the ones, that's the left-hand side of the starting gate as you're facing down the track, are the ones with the problem. It funnels on their side, and you can see them trying to move over. See, there's the problem. They're going to drop way back, and then what happens, Dave, is they start squeezing those riders that are outside of the track into the hay bales. Now, Lamson did not get squeezed, nor did Larry Brooks, rider number 17, or Kidrowski, number 3.
That's your top 3 as Kidrowski gets away with a good start. You get a glimpse of Guy Cooper back in about 6th or 7th spot as Kidrowski takes the lead over Lamson with number 23, Denny Stevenson, keeping the pressure on. They've all swept past Larry Brooks and make, whoa, look at that. Stevenson right into the path of Lamson.
Yeah, this is pretty easy. Earlier, Mike LaRocco talked to Stevenson, said, you owe me a favor or two. Could you put your motorcycle between Kidrowski and the rest of that racetrack and give me a chance to go on by? That basically is what happened.
So Lamson's up and gone, and that gets LaRocco into second spot. Number 5, Mike LaRocco back in action. Kidrowski recovers. Grayson Goodman does a similar number on number 17, Larry Brooks. And so Brooks, who had a whole shot, falls deep into the pack, and Kidrowski goes to work on Cooper in the race for 3rd and 4th. And there is the pass. Into 3rd goes Kidrowski. He'll set his sights on his teammate, Mike LaRocco, number 5, who looks pretty good in his comeback.
Indeed looks good. Now, of course, all of the fans are watching that battle, and we all know what they want. They want the native Indianian. Is that a word, or is it a Hoosier? How do you say that? Okay. They want him, of course, to take a checkered flag. Meanwhile, Cooper finds himself involved in another battle with Jeff Emig, and now we're looking again at the final transfer positions here. And right now, Emig is going to take that number 4 spot. That'll drop Cooper out of contention until our leader, Steve Lamson, says, boy, can't stand this taste of success. So Lamson buries himself in the bales. We'll take another look at it. Coming down in that rough section of racetrack, a series of whoops that throw the riders off balance. And Lamson just missed by a few inches, and he had nowhere to go except into the ground.
Boy, I tell you, is this comeback working out or what? Mike LaRocco gets a big help on the start from Denny Stevenson, and then Lamson generously hands over the lead, and Cooper has fallen into the clutches of number 19, Brian Swink, in his efforts just to get that final transfer spot. So it's been an eventful first qualifying race, and it's won by the kid from LaPorte, Indiana, coming back to action after the injured wrist. Mike LaRocco the victory. Here's the battle for the last transfer spot, and Cooper shows Swink a wheel, and then the thumbs up to say, I got it, and you don't. LaRocco wins. Let's go trackside. Bob Hanna welcomes Mike back.
Mike, you've been out of racing since Seattle. The obvious question, is your wrist 100%?
I'm not going to go ahead and say it's 100%, but it does feel pretty good. It doesn't feel bad, actually. I haven't really been riding that much, but, you know, I've watched races, and I'm just too tired of watching. I'm ready to go back and race.
More tired watching them than riding them?
Yeah, I've been watching the last few races, so, you know, I've just been anxious to get back out there, so I'm giving it a shot.
All right, we go to heat race number 2, and this one is wild and woolly. Highlights that will keep you on the edge of your seat here. A lot of the big guns are in this one, and they get tangled up right off the bat.
Yeah, Mike LaRocco talked about giving it a shot. We're going to see some shots in this one that really set the Hoosier Dome back on its ear.
Watch the right-hand corner of your screen right there. Damon Bradshaw clips a hay bale, falls into the pack, gets over the handlebars, and almost runs off the track. The guy that he was trying to pass when he clipped that bale was number 15, Jeremy McGrath. He's got the whole shot. Look at the save by Bradshaw.
Yeah, this is the aftermath of what Bradshaw would later say was a poor move on the part of McGrath. Look at that. He's running beside the motorcycle trying to keep that thing under control. That obviously put him way back in the pack, and he's going to have to ride the wheels off the motorcycle, and it's going to be to no avail. He'll not qualify in this heat race. He'll have to come through the semifinals, and he's not happy, to say the least. Who is happy? Jeremy McGrath. Another hole shot.
Lawrence. Yeah, good hole shot for McGrath. It's important to be out front.
Watch this.
Challenge from number 24, Michael Craig. You met him at the top of the show. He meets Phil Lawrence and goes right on his head. Just trying too hard, I think, and trying to get his feet back underneath him as McGrath falls back into the pack. Take another look.
Amazing thing here is he did not take Lawrence down with him. I don't know how he avoided that. Hey, maybe you're right. So meanwhile, now a new battle and a new challenger is Sean Kalos that closes the gap, and he takes the measure of Phil Lawrence.
That'll put Kalos in second spot temporarily and drop Lawrence back to third position, but then an off camber in the front wheel combined to put Kalos on the ground, and suddenly Jeff Matasevich is up to challenge. This now the battle for third and fourth. As factory Phil Lawrence, number 31, moves back to second. Move here by Matasevich. He will come to the inside and squaring it back off Kalos, and they go handlebar to handlebar. Pretty good battle, but just a preview of what we'll see from Matasevich before this is all over. Number 9, Larry Ward, moves up into the picture. He and Matasevich are teammates for Suzuki, and they're both trying to get that transfer spot and get a shot at Jeremy McGrath in the main event. McGrath up and gone in this one. You give this kid a whole shot, and he will check out. But watch what happened as the checkered flag fell. Ward got out of control, crashed into Matasevich. They will rule that Ward cut the course, as you'll see in a moment. But watch Matasevich, number 12. He's mad. Pow!
And Ward is going to chase him down the track. That just doesn't work. He doesn't have enough horsepower in those two legs. And Matasevich is just going to kind of ride away from that whole mess. Ward will pick up his bike.
I never understood punching a guy who's got a helmet on.
He did use his elbow, though, and you do have elbow pads. Maybe they've learned something there. Matasevich very, very unhappy. Now, here it is. Watch coming from the top. There it is. See, and Ward did cut the course. He was totally out of control. Shot across about 10, 12 feet of racetrack there. And now look what happens. Bradshaw unhappy with McGrath.
This is Bradshaw contending that McGrath caused his crash by pushing him into the hay bales. McGrath not too upset. He wins it. We'll go trackside to Bob Hanna. Matasevich did get the last transfer spot.
Jeremy, I think everybody really expected you to win that. The question is, what was with Bradshaw at the end of that? What was that all about?
Well, Bradshaw gets a little bit uptight, you know, and, you know, he says I cut him off on the start, and maybe I did a little bit, but, you know, I would expect him to do the same thing if he hole shotted me, you know. I'm just trying to secure my start, you know, and, you know, I'm not out there to take anybody out or anything like that, but, you know, Damon just has a short temper and a short fuse, so it goes off really quick.
Will it bother you for the main, or are you up?
No, I just laugh, you know, it doesn't bother me at all. He tries to intimidate everybody out there, and, you know, I'm not going to fall for that.
All right, good luck, Jim.
Thanks.
One of the reasons McGrath leads the series is that he will not be intimidated. Now look at this. Ward nearest the camera arguing it out with Matasevich, who has been fined a paltry $200 for throwing a punch in front of 40,000 people. Unbelievable. Art Ekman has a report on what's going on in the Suzuki pit.
Well, Dave, it's an interesting situation here in the Suzuki pits because they're both friends. They both house each other right next to each other. Larry Ward just got through coming over to the chicken and explaining that I was out of control and was trying to make up the situation. And let's go in and see what Jeff might have to say about it. I know in the heat of battle, Jeff, it's always difficult.
Yeah, it sure is. You know, I really didn't know what happened there. He just came and explained. He was out of control. I don't know. I was just looking up at the checkered flag, and a bike came across over the hay bales from nowhere. There's an off-camera turn, and I couldn't really see what he was trying to do. I don't know if he was trying to pass me right there or what, but he said he was out of control. So that's racing. I lost my temper, and I had to apologize for that.
That's the situation down here in the Suzuki pits. Back to you, Dave.
Well, it's been an eventful night for the Suzuki folks, and for Brian Swink, it isn't over. He's got to ride the semifinal to make it to the main event. We'll be back with more from the Hoosier Dome in a moment. We're back at the Hoosier Dome. Semifinal action next up. We'll take a look at the highlights. We'll pick the top 5 from each of the 2 semis to go up and challenge Jeremy McGrath and Mike LaRocco in the best in the championship main event. Same story here. You really want to get the whole shot. In the first couple of laps, saw some pretty intense action. Number 19, Swink, whom you met earlier, got out pretty strong, but Steve Lamson was right there with him, came alongside, and it was Lamson who ultimately led him down the first real straightaway.
Again, it was that tight funneling effect going into that corner and kind of pushed Swink way out and out of contention, and allowed Lamson, who did not get a particularly good start, to squeak by on the inside. So what was not the best start in the world turned into the best start in the world.
And number 23, Denny Stevenson, quickly moved up into contention. Give Swink credit. He didn't waste any time. He said, hey, I may have muffed the start a bit, but I'm the fastest man out here. He put Lamson away in a hurry, put it on cruise control, and just took off. And basically the top 3 were set at that point. Swink sporting the new look here in the Hoosier Dome tonight. You'll see it in a moment. Absolutely ran away with this one, but there was last lap action, and it was wild. Number 56, Grayson Goodman, clunk into the side of Todd DeHoop.
And Todd DeHoop's leg gets tangled up in his rear wheel. That's hard to do. He turned into a contortionist there, and that's going to put him out of the race action. Goodman looking behind him to see where he is, and all of a sudden he finds himself alone in the number 5 spot. He's chasing Larry Brooks, rider number 17, for the number 4 position. To no avail, makes no difference because the top 5 do go to the main, Dave.
So Brooks gets the 4th spot. The final transfer goes to Grayson Goodman after the exciting altercation there with the hoop. And the man from Linden, Michigan, suburb of Detroit, Brian Swink, is happy with the win and is ready to unveil his new look on ESPN.
Ryan, it looks like you're having a lot of fun out there. The semi's not always the way you'd like to go, though.
Yeah, exactly. I got a bad start in the heat race. The only second sim I had to ride this year. So I went out there, made the best of it, tried to win some fans over.
Hey, tell us about, we had a little report that Emick and you got into a little bit in your qualifier.
Well, you know, I had several chances to ram him in the qualifier. It's just a qualifier, so I played it smart. You know, I didn't do nothing dumb, and then he was cutting all over the track, almost running into me. Then he passes Cooper and jumps over on Cooper on the triple. Ramming and all that, you know, I can deal with. That don't bother me, but cutting off in the air on triples and stuff, that's not called for. It's dangerous.
The thoughts of Detroit's answer to Fu Manchu on the riding style of his adversary, Jeff Emick. We'll go to the second semifinal. We'll see some more boys on the ground. I don't know, is it the pressure of the late season? Is that what we're seeing here, Larry?
I think that the late season tempers are flaring. The guys that expect to do well at the beginning of the season and have not are taking it out on each other. This track, look at here. See, remember Bob talked about that start? That was Koji Okawara that got squeezed and ran on the wrong side of the bale. Meanwhile, out front, we're looking at Larry Ward and On his right is Mike Jones, rider number 35 out of Pennsylvania. But, boy, that was a tight one right there. Jones came up over the top of that, had his wheels off the motorcycle, and I think Ward wisely said, I don't want any of that, and he backed off, and he backed off so much that Mike Craig come around the other side. Ward has to wonder what's going on at this point.
Matter of fact, when Ward got out of the throttle, Craig saw the opportunity. He did the triple. Ward didn't, and as a result, it's number 24, Michael Craig, challenging for the lead against Mike Jones, but we're going to see a Michael Craig familiar scene here in just a moment. Ward, number 9, in that third spot. Remember, we take the top 5, so this is really a shuffle of positions as much for bragging rights as anything else. Here's what happened to Craig. Second time tonight in the trip in the whoop-de-doos.
You know, there's no answer for that, no reason for that. It's a lack of concentration. Mike does this. He's all by himself. Things are flowing well, and he just loses his concentration. That's the only thing I could lay it on. Obviously, the bike spit him off and put him on the ground, but I think he just wasn't paying attention.
You'll get glimpses now of number 8, Damon Bradshaw. This will move him up into third spot. As the battle for the lead heats back up again, Larry Ward, with Craig out of the way, sees an opportunity, says, I'll take on 1. I'm not going to take on 2. I'll take on 1. And he goes around Jones and picks up the lead.
I think he was thinking in the back of his mind about that move that he was taught by Matasevich, and he was looking for room to throw that elbow.
Here is Bradshaw moving up now to challenge Mike Jones. Damon's had a tough night. Had to come from the back in the first one, had to come from fourth in this one. Jones also has it tough. Crashes into the back of Bradshaw, goes on his ear.
Jones was out of control before they even got that far. He was off the motorcycle. We saw evidence of that many corners earlier. Never to fear, though. Jones is going to come back and finish in the number 5 spot. Here we go now with Cliff Palmer, rider number 20 in the KTM, and Michael Craig getting back into it.
Craig came back to finish third. Good, strong run. Actually, only one guy got by him when he crashed. That's how much distance he had, how much advantage he had. And look at the advantage that Larry Ward has as he turns for home here. The runaway winner of the second semifinal. Nobody close, nobody to take a swing at him. He's safely in the main event as Damon Bradshaw will come home with the runner-up finish. And so we have qualified all but 2 men for the main. Ward, Bradshaw, Craig Palmer, and Jones move on. Let's hear from Larry Ward.
Larry, not always the way you'd like to go to the main, but usually because you didn't qualify tonight is because a mandatory fine. Tell us about that.
Well, I didn't get fined when I got out of control off the jump over there and kind of cut the track. I didn't mean to do what I did, but I bumped into my teammate Chicken, and I beat him across the line, but since I did cut the track, they docked me a position and let Chicken into the main and let me ride the semi. But, you know, my Suzuki's running good, and I felt good out there in the semi, so, you know, hopefully it was a learning experience.
What went on at the end of that qualifier with Chicken?
Well, Chicken came up alongside me, and he saw me crash, and he just tapped me on the head and made sure I was all right. I felt fine after the crash, and everything should be good in the main.
All right, Larry, good luck.
Thanks.
Obviously, it's going to take more than an elbow from Matasevich to bruise Ward's sense of humor. Eric Kehoe and Ray Somo took the top 2 spots in the last chance qualifier. They will join the rest of the field in the main event. We'll be back with the 125. 125 Regional Championship Supercross coming up. Champion's already been crowned. It's this guy, Doug Henry, looking for his 7th win in a row tonight. Let's meet him.
The way Doug Henry dominated the Eastern 125 scene this year, it's hard to believe he never had the dream of superstardom.
This was never really a dream for me. It was always a thing I just loved to do.
What started on mini bikes in the small town of Shelton, Connecticut, led to a curiosity and fun in the New England Series in 1985. And then it was pack up and hit the scene in Florida.
I'd do some sheetrocking, or I'd work for a fabricating company. And I'd work all summer, and then during the winter, I'd take all my money and spend it all down in Florida and live out of my van or box trailer or whatever.
I think the first year I saw him, he was working out of the back of a pickup truck or a car or something. Everything was in the trunk of a car, but he was out there not making excuses for what he didn't have and trying to do the best with it. And that says a lot to me. Sometimes it's the guys that really don't have a lot, that are just trying to work hard and make the most of it, they stay in there for the long haul.
Did Honda luck out with their last-minute 125 decision, or what? They pick up a young man who limited his agenda to short-term goals, who has a high work ethic and an appreciation for a supporting cast that works as hard as he does. With the success of 6 consecutive wins and the Eastern Regional title in his hip pocket, Henry is now over-anxious for the next arena. He's anticipating a good outdoor season. If Honda would have had a bike ready, he'd be running a 250 here today.
I like the way the competitiveness is in me. You know, of course, there's some bad things about it because you get hard feelings towards people. But I learned to control it, you know, just to know that competition is just something that's in me. And I just love to have the competition there. If someone's in front of me, I want to pass them. And if somebody's behind me, I want to stay in front of them.
Tonight, we've got two sure bets. One, he'll give it his all in the 125s, despite 6 wins in a row. And two, Honda will have him on the 250 for the season's final 3 Supercross events. Back to Dave and Larry.
Thank you very much, Art Ekman. Congratulations to Henry on a great championship. He'll wrap up the 125 Eastern Region action here tonight, then climb on the 250. What's he going to do in his last shot at these guys? Going for 7 in a row. Well, the first thing he's going to do is get a pretty bad start. Ezra Lusk on the Suzuki jumps out front, and that funneling effect funnels Doug Henry back to about 8th or 9th spot. He's got catching up to do.
Ooh, he narrowly avoided going on his head back there. He was hit from 2 different directions, but Henry he just kind of pulled himself through that one. I think by the red paint on his Honda that he made it, he'll immediately start moving toward the front. But he's got a long way to go to catch up in here. And you have to wonder what the makeup is of a man like this. He could be resting on his laurels. Why go to all of that work? Meanwhile, Chad Pedersen, who has 1 win to his record book this year, takes over the number 2 position by passing Davey Yezik.
Ezra Lusk is way out in front of this battle. Henry catches them, challenges Yezik as Pedersen seizes the opportunity to pull away a little bit. It looked like it might be a Pedersen, Henry, and Lusk battle for the championship early on. Lusk won 1, Pedersen won 1, and Henry won all the rest.
And now watch this. Henry just takes a little nose dive, eases off the motorcycle into the ground, and this really shows what this guy is all about. He's going to come back from this minor spill, loss of control as he goes down to the ground. He's going to come back and really be a factor in this race before it's over. Unbelievable, this guy. He's really done well.
Lusk in trouble, off the track, back through the banners. Key mistake. Banners get caught in the forks and ultimately in the rear wheel. And the problem there is that the banners in the rear wheel are tangled up in the brakes. And when you've got banners in the brakes don't work. So Ezra, though the leader, does have a dilemma at this point.
Here's what I like. Yeah. Banners in the brakes. I didn't know that.
Okay, so what? What do I do about it?
Jim, does Ezra still have his brakes because of the banners?
Yeah, right now we kind of lost a little bit, but it's starting to come back. I told him to hold the pedal down so he can burn them off. It'll come back primarily. He had them going into this corner. I'm trying to keep him on them so that they'll burn themselves out. They can pick up the speed.
That's Jim Danforth's assessment of Ezra Lusk's strategy here. I gather the heat will ultimately burn the banners off of there, and then he can continue.
I think, yeah, that's the theory. Actually, it's kind of pretty as they work their way around that wheel, but I don't think that that's what Ezra's after.
I don't recall that ever having worked before either. He is currently in 4th spot as we watch what is now the battle for the lead. And look at Yezik come back to life and challenge Pedersen, who seems to be going backwards here.
Yezik has not led a Supercross this year. However, Yezik has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger as the season wore on. He's another one of those riders that would love to start the season all over again tomorrow because he's really come into his own and has done a remarkable job. Meanwhile, here's Doug Henry, who has picked himself off the ground and is after Ezra Lusk, who earlier picked himself up off the ground, and he makes that pass, and Lusk continues to go backwards.
And so can Yezik hold on as Doug Henry, having crashed once, having suffered a bad start, suddenly is about 10 yards away from the lead. Pedersen picks up a banner of his own, and Yezik feels the heat now from 2 men inside. Henry grabs the 2nd spot away from Pedersen, and I get the feeling it's inevitable here.
Well, I just told you that Yezik has been getting stronger, but not that strong. Doug Henry is the man in this class, has been since about the 3rd race of the season. And in just a jump or 2, there it is. You know why. He clearly is the #1 rider in this class.
En route to his 7th consecutive victory after struggling in the first couple of races, Doug Henry, clearly the class of the 125s. What a way to celebrate the championship. And you're right, Larry. He could have laid back tonight. Instead, he chose to show why he is #1. Best ride of the year for Yezik as he comes home 2nd. Pedersen, Lusk, and Steele round out the top 5. 6 through 10, you find Edwards, Curry, Sheik, Brown, and Bennick. Let's hear from the winner and still champion.
Doug, you get a bad start, you crash,
And you still come through the pack and win. That must build your confidence.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You know, I was looking for an exciting race tonight, and it sure was, you know. Ezra went down, so it kind of gave me a break there in about, I guess it was about midway. So I knew I just had to catch Chad and I think it's Yetzek. I'm not really sure who was up front, but I just knew I had to catch those guys and go on and try to win one more race, my last race on 125.
Let's make it official. Doug Henry wins this series championship by a margin too big to calculate. Let's hear from the race runner-up.
Davey, it was a real tough race all the way. You were consistent. Everybody else was going back and forth.
Yeah, I saw at the beginning everyone started making some mistakes, and they kept wrecking. I was just trying to stay smooth and just keep my pace up and hopefully see what that would do for me.
Well, you had somebody right on your tail at the end.
Yeah, I believe it's Chad Pedersen was right on me at the end, and really fast rider, and but I'm happy with what I got.
Well, I want you to look at the victory celebration here. Evidence that Davey Yezik has never been on the podium before. Can't get the doggone cork out of the bottle. Well, I know what I'll do. I'll just pull it out with my teeth. We'll be back with the 250 main event right after this. We're back in the Hoosier Dome. It is main event time for the 250s, and the helmeted heroes of Camel Supercross are ready to turn them loose and charge into turn number one. That tricky starting area has been a factor throughout the evening. The big question, as it has been all season, can anybody do anything with Jeremy McGrath, or can Jeremy take another step toward rewriting the record book?
I have to say, Dave, that the best way right now to beat Jeremy McGrath is to push him off into the hay bales at the start, as we have seen a couple of times tonight, and maybe by dropping him back that far, they'll have a crack.
Well, if they're going to do that, they got to beat him to the first turn. Let's see if somebody can pull that off. Sure enough, McGrath does not get the whole shot. We got Larry Brooks on the ground in that tricky first corner. Steve Lamson goes out front. Here's Jeremy alongside number 23, who's had some great starts tonight. That is Denny Stevenson up into third spot. And here's Michael Craig, who's been on the ground already a couple of times this evening as the Hondas go to the front.
Point out there is one Honda missing, that one that belongs to Jeff Stanton, injured in Pontiac. He's going to sit out this race. Report was Jeff says, I'm ready to go race, but the doctor said, well, we'd like you to set out one more. Meanwhile, Steve Lamson putting his Honda out front. He has come on quite strong as the season has progressed.
Going to look at number 6, Jeff Emig, who's up into third spot. His teammate, Damon Bradshaw, victim of another bad start, is going to have to play some catch-up here tonight. It's been a long and difficult season for the young man who won 9 last year and looked like odds-on to run away with his championship this year. Suzuki battle finds number 31, Factory Phil Lawrence, up against Guy Cooper for 5th and 6th.
Lawrence is the young man from the West Coast who is in the Western Regional 125cc Championship. And here comes McGrath. He says, let me by. And I don't know, was that a sachet out of the way on the part of Lamson, or was he just kind of pushed that way because of momentum? Either way, he is out of the way, and McGrath is in clear control of this one. Say goodbye. Where's the checkered flag?
Well, Jeremy managed to not lead the first lap, which in itself is a bit unusual. He's been dominating these races of late. He's looking for win number 8 of the season thus far.
That's right. That record that Bradshaw set just 1 year ago would be in jeopardy. He'll have 3 more chances to tie and break.
We'll be back to see if he can do it right after this. We're back in the Hoosier Dome. Here's your battle for second spot. How about Denny Stevenson? He's been a front runner all night here tonight. Number 23 up to challenge Lamson.
Denny is a former 125cc Eastern Regional champion. He had great promise when he turned into the 250 class, but it's never materialized. Stevenson has been also ran throughout his career.
He's been injured a couple of times, but is healthy now as he goes after Lamson. The 4th place man is Jeff Emig, another youngster, and he's up there to take his shot at Stevenson now. So you've got a whole fleet of youngsters up front challenging the established stars of Supercross. Although I think at some point we have to begin to acknowledge, as we watch the pass by Emick going for third there, at some point I think we have to acknowledge that at the age of 22, even though he's in his first full season, number 15 Jeremy McGrath is clearly established.
Boy, if there's a bigger star out there, I sure don't know where. He has done it all this year. He's led from the front. He's come from off the pace to win. And right now he's running away with this one. And we're back looking through the pack for something going on. And right now it's kind of a follow the leader type race.
Next man in line that might be a potential challenger here would be Phil Lawrence, number 31, another youngster who has had good starts here this evening. He circulates in 5th spot. Michael Craig is back there trying to launch some sort of an attack on him from 6th, and there they are. 5th and 6th spot. Missing from the front runners, Mike LaRocco after a bad start. And as we pointed out earlier, Damon Bradshaw, both trying to play catch up in front of some 49,000 Hoosier fans here tonight. They all came to watch LaRocco win.
Yeah, they did. And unfortunately, LaRocco is not going to do that tonight. He's back a ways in the pack. And he said, he said that if I get a good hole shot, my wrist is going to be all right. Then he said, I'm not going to feel it. But if I'm back in the pack and struggling, he said, I know that I'll feel every jar and jump on this racetrack.
Here's your leader, Jeremy McGrath, Murrieta, California, home for the youngster who has taken the series by storm in 1993 and has the potential, as we said, to rewrite all the records. Here's the interval he has pulled out over his young teammate Steve Lamson. Here is Emick in 3rd spot and looking like a spoiler here this evening. Once he gets the good start, he's got the speed and got the rhythm, and he has Lamson squarely in his sights up ahead. Tricky corner right here. That off-camber right-hander just before the finish line has been the downfall of a couple of guys this evening. Lamson and Emick safely negotiate that challenge. We'll be back with more from the Hoosier Dome. Back in the Hoosier Dome, the Jeremy McGrath Express at full flight. Michael Craig, meanwhile, is on the move. He's around Denny Stevenson and into 5th. Actually, the move is Stevenson's, and it's the wrong way. He's gone from 3rd to 6th now and is under pressure for that position from Brian Swink. Swink jumps up alongside, has different rhythm and different line through the whoops, but that'll put him on the inside for the off-camber. Makes Swink 6th and drops Stevenson to 7th.
We pointed out a couple of times this. Whoa, and Stevenson almost takes Swink out. Swink having a fairly good run today, and most of his season has not been that way. Sometimes it's difficult to remember that he was a Eastern Regional 125 champ, came along at the same pace as McGrath did. Now, big difference between the two. Obviously, McGrath has won 7 times this year. Swink has a 2nd place, and that's as high as he could finish. But what McGrath has done that Swink has not, he's avoided. As we watch Michael Craig make another move and another pass, I want to quickly say that McGrath has avoided all those typical rookie mistakes, Dave.
That's going to put Craig up to 5th. Phil Lawrence is now the 6th place man. And Jeremy McGrath has indeed avoided virtually all the pitfalls of rookie stardom. We spoke with his mechanic, Skip Norfolk, about that.
I feel I'm pretty fortunate to where Jeremy doesn't necessarily take those chances. He always rides within himself. So I have that positive aspect about Jeremy and about his whole race program. But I use those role models, or I don't want to call them role models, but I use those guys to look at and I go, hey, at any time, there's 4 or 5 guys that can beat you and are going to beat you. You just got to be able to, when you get beat, you got to get back up and hit them hard again. Like say you fall off a horse, you got to get back on and go. And you just can't let those guys get inside your race program and learn from what they've gone through, and so you don't go through it yourself and try to just take advantage of every situation, both present and past, and use it to your best advantage.
These guys have used everything in the book to their advantage this year. They have totally dominated the series. Yeah, there have been tough times for their rivals, Jeff Stanton, Damon Bradshaw, and all the rest. But I think the point is all those guys who have been there before are making the mistakes. These guys who have never been here before have been perfectly clean all season.
We need to go back to the beginning of the year when we made our predictions as to who it would boil down to. And I think that McGrath's name came up, and I remember saying, McGrath might be a factor in a race or two, but he's going to lack the inconsistency, and that usually is the situation with rookies. They're great promise. They win here, they win there, but they're just not able to keep it together. McGrath has done just a wonderful job.
Well, indeed he has. And tonight it's McGrath, Lamson, Emig, Craig, Lawrence, and Swink. Your top half dozen. No major battles in there right now. Emig continuing to try to find a way around Lamson. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of the 1993 Supercross season. Who's going to be second behind Jeremy McGrath? Tonight it's Lamson and Emig battling for that honor, and Emig gets off the racetrack and into a hay bale, and suddenly it's the race for third and fourth, and Michael Craig said, hey, you make that kind of a mistake, I'm going to pounce on it. Now, can Craig keep it on two wheels?
If we go back to the past couple of weeks, the answer there is definitely no. He has been on the ground as much as he has been up in the air. Right now, though, he has it together. Michael Craig has come on strong. A disaster at the beginning of the season. He opened up the year with a 20th place, but since then, he just progressively has gotten faster and faster and faster. And I think when Kawasaki picked him up, they got themselves a virtual gold mine.
Well, maybe so, Larry, but here's the guy who's collected most of the nuggets in '93. 7 victories thus far. McGrath looking for number 8 here this evening, and he doesn't have to look very hard. If he keeps that motorcycle upright, he will cruise to an easy win. Perhaps here we'll get a sense of the interval. Yeah, sure enough. Where is second place? There he is. And that is Lamson, his teammate. Great night for Honda. Here's a lapper, and then number 24, Michael Craig, who is definitely making inroads and looking at a podium position tonight if he can keep it upright. I'll say this in defense of Craig. Yeah, he's been on the ground a lot, but he's riding in a different league than he was at the start of the season, and I think he's handling it very well. Out front, Jeremy just on cruise control now. He seems to have no difficulty whether he's behind and catching up, as we saw a couple of races ago, or whether he's out front and setting the pace. The man is just a machine. He is totally dominant. Emig in fourth, trying to move. Craig also trying to get another position under his belt. The lap's beginning to wind down here, and nobody closing on Jeremy McGrath.
We do have a battle for the number 2, 3, and 4 slots. We'll see how that one works out. You know, a remarkable thing. Most of the guys out here started racing when they were very, very young. Mini bikes, but not this young man. McGrath was 14 before he started racing. He was a BMX racer, was good enough to be flown around the United States and be paid a salary for racing bicycles, BMX bicycle motocross, and then turning his talents after he watched some Supercross events to the sport of Supercross. Says, that's what I want to do. I want to be a champion in that sport. A lot more money involved. And Dave, it is working extremely well. We'll find out if he wins this one. We'll be right back.
On the Hoosier Dome Supercross, the last bit of drama. Who will be third? Number 24, Michael Craig, or number 6, Jeff Emig? Emig's been in front of Craig tonight. Now he's behind him. Now he's alongside him. This is a great race. Ooh, but looky there. Emig does the double and Craig does the triple, and the difference is about 10 yards on the racetrack.
Kedrowski had been charging. This has not been a good night for Kedrowski. He's been down on the ground more than once and picking himself up. Now, he is the final contender in this chase for the championship. He's the only rider that could beat McGrath. And here comes Emig. Now, I don't know what that was all about. It looked to me like Craig moved over and let Emig by. That's just exactly what it looked like. I'm sure that was not the case. Either he stuck his foot in the ground or he's very, very tired, but he just didn't want to mix it up there.
Craig could not hold off the advance of Emig, so he'll fall outside the top 3. No champagne for you. He looks like he's off the pace. Something's wrong, I think, with Michael Craig. He simply has lost all his aggression. Could be mechanical, could be physical. Here's the man who's been alone in second spot all night, probably trying to figure out how Jeremy goes so fast, and for that brief time when he was able to actually see Jeremy in front of him, he may have gotten some hints. Bradshaw has crashed and picked himself back up again. He was 13th. He charged to 8th. And now, guess what? He's back in 13th place again. Another disastrous night for Team Yamaha and Damon Bradshaw. Emig carries the team colors tonight as Jeremy McGrath starts showing off a little bit. It's showtime. Says so on his pants. That's the nickname he's picked up, and well-deserved, too, as he works his way through the final lap here in the Hoosier Dome, and nearly 50,000 fans get their opportunity to see the new force in Supercross 19. 1993. McGrath claiming number 8 here this evening if a lapper doesn't take him out. There's Kedrowski a lap behind, and this will not make it official, Larry, but it's going to make it close to official. Kedrowski's one of the few guys left with a mathematical shot at Jeremy.
Yeah, he'll be the only guy left. Pontiac pretty much took care of that. Damon Bradshaw and Stanton suffering. Oh, there McGrath takes the win. They suffered bad nights back-to-back and pretty much wiped himself out. Lamson goes on to take second place, his best finish of the year.
1-2 for the Honda kids in the Hoosier Dome tonight. Showtime McGrath wins number 8. He's 1 short of the record, held by Damon Bradshaw, and that is the outright record for single-season wins. No qualifier for rookies. He's going to do what's never been done if he can win 2 more races before this year is out. So as the souvenirs go into the stands, let's take a look at your official top 10 tonight. It is McGrath over Lamson and Emig. Craig settles for 4th with Guy Cooper in 5th spot. And further back, we've got Phil Lawrence, Brian Swink, Sean Kalos. Mike LaRocco comes back with a 9th place finish, but Tasevich rounds out the top 10. Here's the winner.
Jeremy, I'm getting the impression that once the gate drops, everybody gives up, knows they're racing for second, and you just go ahead and take the win.
Well, Bob, I don't think their intentions are that, but that's my intentions, that's for sure. You know, I want to win every race. That's good, and as far as I can win it by.
The championship's getting down to where you're probably going to win it early. If you do, are you still going to have that drive the last couple races?
Yeah, Bob, you know, I don't want to shut off because of the championship, you know. There's many more championships to be won, and, you know, hopefully this one's going to work out for me, and, you know, I'm just happy to be out there.
A good ride, Jeremy.
Thanks, Bob.
Here are the points. I thought the key line there was many more championships to be won. Let's hear from the 3rd place man, Jeff Emig.
Jeff, you tried about everything possible in the book to get that 2nd place.
Well, yeah, you know, like I had that 2nd place, and then I let it go, you know. Like I got right up there on him, and I made a big mistake in the first turn. I ended up getting the bar in my chest pretty bad. But, you know, like I got Mike back. Mike started making a whole lot of mistakes. You know, he pretty much, I think, you know, like that he had enough.
So a Purple Heart for Jeff Emig, another trophy for Jeremy.